What is up, fellow sickos? I am Dan Favale coming at you with the one, the only, the certified fantabulous Mr. Grant Hughes. We're here, the penultimate Hardwood Knocks NBA trade deadline primer podcast. On to the Houston Rockets. We just have them and then the Dallas Mavericks after that. Just as a reminder, one, definitely subscribe across all platforms if you haven't already, but go bounce around. We have episodes like this for all 30 teams. Some of them got refreshers. We had the Wizards and Hawks ones all locked and loaded, and they got blown up by the Trae Young trade. So we did a combined one with them. Warriors and Bucks made us re-record theirs. So go check them out. You'll find them all in our feed, or we have a YouTube playlist out there. Grant, before we dive into the Houston Rockets trade deadline vitals, how the heck are you doing?
I'm doing well. If I would just like to say I will not be doing well if Houston and Dallas, who's the other team we're going to do, if they engage in a trade before like Thursday at the 11th hour, we riot because we just do nothing because we're not going to redo these. This is it.
As we're peek behind the curtains, we're recording this. This is going to be going up like within a couple hours. Like I'm done. I've been posting multiples a day. We're past the whole decorum of let's space these out. So
no, the Rockets, because also they're useless after Thursday, so they have to breathe a little bit out there. Well, you know what? You get bonus points as a listener if you listen to any of these trade deadline primers after the actual trade deadline.
Because I think if your team doesn't make a move and the stuff we then talk about, like some of them I still believe will be germane.
Okay. Look at you. I'm trying to just devalue the content and you're saving it. That's why you're a hero.
Let's go into the Houston Rockets trade deadline vitals. So they are about $1.25 million below the first apron, which they cannot go over, and they're $6.8 million over the tax in total. Just noting that number because maybe they want to duck it. Next year, though, this also matters. $16.8 million under the tax as of now. That's without paying Tari Eason, who's entering restricted free agency. Their 2026 first is going to the Oklahoma City Thunder or Washington Wizards. They do have all their own first rounders thereafter. In terms of extra obligations, they have swap rights with Brooklyn in 2027. They have Phoenix's 2027 first. And then in 2029, they have 2 first-round picks. They'll be the 2 most favorable of Dallas, Phoenix's, and Houston's own. The only notable trade exception they have, Cam Whitmore. That expires July 6th, though, so they're not really obligated to use that. Did I miss anything with their vitals, Grant?
I think you're good, but as we've discussed off mic, if you didn't catch it, I'm probably not going to catch it if there's anything missing there. I did bump on, I know this isn't, I guess this maybe is kind of the first thing to discuss, but you mentioned their distance from the tax line this season with a very casual, in case they want to duck it. How are Rockets fans going to feel if their team goes into the deadline with the goal of ducking the tax? I wonder. I'm not asking you to speak for them, but isn't that I bumped a little bit on that idea?
Here's the thing, is you could look at it one of two ways, is that they're about to get a lot more expensive. And so why start, in theory, the repeater clock? Because that could accelerate them making any decisions. But I also think it's fair to say they traded for Kevin Durant over the summer. Timelines, if we're worried about missing the tax this year to not start the repeater clock, we're talking about a 3 or 4 year timeline horizon, essentially, right? Windows just don't last that long anymore. And so if you think you have a chance at winning the title, which the Rockets do, maybe not as currently constructed, but the Rockets certainly do, that if it's an offshoot, a byproduct of making another move, but it would be a bummer because first of all, the tax bill is just whatever at this point. It would be a bummer to say, oh, we didn't get better, we ducked the tax, knowing that this isn't going to be the team you have. Are all these guys going to be on the team in 2 years anyway? The answer is no.
Yeah, that's the thing is I feel like, these cycles accelerate a little bit, but we've kind of been saying like the Rockets are going to get expensive pretty soon for a couple years, like dating back to, I don't know, like the Jalen Green draft class, like that, which is a while ago in like roster building terms. And so, yeah, they've got Reed Shepherd eventually is going to need his extension. Jabari Smith's already got it. Thompson is probably the most pressing one. But they have so far figured out how to navigate like a very good problem of we're drafting guys that, come with high starting salaries by virtue of where they've been selected and then like tend to play well enough to get paid. They've done well to pay those guys a lot less than probably many would have expected ultimately.
Right.
and or move them for the Kevin Durant's of the world. So I do. It is like we have to discuss it, and
They
part of the reason I brought it up because it is important. But like they've navigated that pretty well so far. So maybe they get a little benefit of the doubt, right? Where if like they do make a move that ducks attacks, it's like, all right, well, so far they've done pretty well with that kind of thing.
And I would probably not be more, I wouldn't embrace it more, but I would feel like it was more likely they look to duck the tax if Steven Adams doesn't get injured, because then you
Mhm.
don't need the idea of and even like Alperen Şengün, what was it the other night, tweaked his back or whatever it was, can't
Yeah.
even remember. Like just to have that insurance. And this is something, because all these guys are on multi-year deals, Dorian Finney-Smith, Clint Capella, you have the ability to duck the tax around the draft too. So it
Mhm.
could be
Mhm.
we go to the draft, maybe we'll see how the playoffs end if there's an opportunity there. So if I had to make a prediction, I'm not saying they won't shave salary, but ducking the tax will not be the most notable thing they do. If they do it, I think they've pulled off some other type of
Yeah.
just a move and it happens.
Right. It could be like a two birds, one stone thing where they actually do go address a need somehow. Because they have the assets, they have some of those picked. There's some sweeteners here. There's some movable contracts, all kinds of things. So yeah, ducking the tax should not be priority one, but it might be a nice little addition to something else they do. By the way, uh, I think we were aligned in like the Clint Capella. Really? Like,
Well, now
and
it's
now that
like
looks pretty good. Like, pretty
Clint Capella.
solid planning, fellas. So that has nothing to do with this trade deadline. It's just the
Well,
Steven Adams injury kind of sheds light on like, yeah, that was pretty shrewd. We didn't understand it at the time.
do you think that the Steven Adams injury is going to change their approach at all? Like, should the Rockets be because having Clint Capella, the way they want to play, having Clint Capella, Alperen Şengün, Jabari Smith Jr. is just your primary. Do you want another big in there, or at least a big who's better than Clint Capella?
I think it makes it a priority, but I don't know that it would be. It can't. I don't think it fundamentally changes what they'll do because you mentioned the guys. Like if you have Şengün and Capella and Jabari Smith and Amen Thompson is a 4, they can, if anything, maybe they go get a really dirt cheap center or something like that. Or I mean, the level of guy that you're like, this is almost indistinguishable from someone you call it from the G League just to eat a few minutes. Like losing Adams is a big deal. Like 1 to their identity, 2 to just their overall production. Like he was a very, very good piece for them that did stuff like you're not whoever you go out and get is not going to replicate what Adams was doing for you because he's kind of like other than Mitchell Robinson, he's unique. But yeah, I think it could affect things. It can't be like anywhere close to the top of their list, right? Or unless you disagree.
No, I mean, I would be curious if the cost was seconds. Yves Missi might be a nice replacement just because of what he does on the offensive glass too.
Mm-hmm.
But like if the Pelicans want a first round pick for him, I'm not going out and like a Day'Ron Sharpe, that'd be an interesting fit here. But it would almost be, oh, can I attach stuff to Clint Capella to get these guys then? Because I'm not looking to. But no, it shouldn't be unless. Now, I think that changes if we're talking about an Adams and are you worried about Şengün at all? Then that conversation changes a bunch. But at that point, you might just have to look at your roster and be, I don't know if this is the year.
Right.
Here's the big one though.
Mm-hmm.
Should they be a Giannis suitor?
So I'm of two minds on this. We haven't talked about this. I'm curious where you are. One is kind of like zoomed all the way out. Well, yes, absolutely. Because they could put a very compelling package on the table for him. They can market to him like we have Kevin Durant here. You're interested in that, correct? Like we can contend, especially if you're here. We kind of need another big in the rotation. I'm interested in some Giannis at center, aren't you? Like that, like, of course, right? And you've already accelerated your timeline with the Durant trade. So you're clearly open to this kind of move. That's the stepped back perspective. But then you look at the team and you're like, is Giannis at all the type of player they need? And to me, other than maybe you can use him as your primary initiator, I think the spacing concerns, I think the overlap with guys like Thompson and Şengün, those are real kind of like fit issues that arise with him. And a lot's been made of how like he's not the easiest guy to build around. Like there's certain things you've got to like the spacing big has always been a must. Maybe that's Jabari Smith. I don't know. Maybe Durant qualifies as that in a weird kind of inverted way where Giannis is actually the center. I think the short answer is yeah. It's weird that they're not in that core 4 of suitors that everybody has mentioned. Um, but I guess the reasoning is just on their end, like it's not an ideal fit. We kind of already took our shot on a veteran. I don't know. Where are you on that?
I I don't love the fit with Giannis. I just don't think he does enough. Like you have Amen Thompson, and even you have Alperen Şengün. We're throwing another spacing variable in here, and also if you don't want to give up Amen Thompson, so now we're punting on the idea of Reed Shepard because then he thought because you're not trading Jabari Smith because of the poison
Mhm.
pill. So now you don't have Fred VanVleet, you don't have Reed Shepard. Kevin Durant is just your lone like
Yeah.
multi-level because Amen Thompson is just not a threat from the perimeter. Giannis is even when the
He,
mid-range is falling, it's different.
I know I was the one that mentioned his name, but I should have like Thompson is in that deal, right? Like, doesn't that seem
Well,
likely?
I don't know because the way I know the Warriors have 4 first-round picks, but there's no blue chip guy in there. The
Yeah.
Heat, their offer right now is built
Wow.
around 2 first-round picks and Khalil Ware. Just the rumors saying like the Timberwolves and the Knicks are among the top 4 suitors. It's they keep
Right.
saying like Jaden McDaniels will get you a haul. It's like okay, is he going to get you 3 first-round picks? Is OG Anunoby going to get you? So if Milwaukee's actually considering moving him mid-season, I don't know if you're the Rockets. If you're willing to put picks on the table, does Amen Thompson need to be like? I think Reed Shepard is better than any single young player that's on the table for you right now.
Well, we know you think that, Dan. You're not, but you're not. You're also not wrong. I was just thinking, like, I don't know. Thompson and Giannis are just. For watching that Rocket Spurs game the other day, where it's like you can like Thompson is just not getting guarded a lot now, and it's like that's. I don't know, man. That's a tough one, and his value to the Bucks should be. I take your point though. It's like you may not even have to throw him in there if like you can do it with Shepard and whoever else.
I just don't think if it's them, they're the team. I think along with the Spurs, and then maybe
The
throw
Spurs are the one that's like, why aren't you in this? You
Oh
know,
no, my whole thing. Sure, I think the Spurs would be. I'm having a longer conversation about it than Houston right now. But
yes.
I even look at the Spurs and the Rockets, and it's just like go through the playoffs and see. Because
Mhm.
first of all, if
Sure.
they're because I think the Bucks will want to wait and see. Oh, can we get Amen Thompson? Can we get Reed Shepard? Can we get Steph Castle or Dylan Harper?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
I don't think he's going to get moved by the deadline. Maybe I'll look like a fool, and they end up sending him for just a bag of chips that the
Mhm.
Timberwolves can offer or the Knicks can offer. I don't know, but if I'm the Rockets, I'm just not itching to do it. And look, part of it is I guess he does improve your offense, but I don't know. The spacing would just be so weird. And
Yep.
after looking at Houston, after a really great start with their first chance to offense this year, they were like 7th or 3rd at one point. They're now
Mhm.
17th.
Right.
Like
Which
that's
feels right, but given the personnel, it feels
and,
okay. That makes more sense.
and you're also when you watch them in crunch time, like you really just feel the lack of optionality. Now, I think there's been some points where I wonder why Ime Udoka hasn't leaned on Reed Shepard more, but we both know
Mhm.
that I'm going to go there anyway. The
Mhm.
Rockets are 20th in crunch time offense for the season, and they're 24th since December 1st. The threes, we caught a lot of shit from Rockets fans when we said that we thought their shooting start to the season was unsustainable. Bottom 10 of 3-point shooting since December 1st as well. This is like those are the needs, and I don't
Mhm.
know that. I guess when you're holistically, Giannis makes you better offensively, but with the pieces that are already in place, he just feels a little too duplicative for me.
I
And if I'm the Rockets, I'm looking more for complementary pieces than this defining player at this moment,
I
anyway.
I think that's right. I just like I guess if you're Houston, you could convince yourself of the idea that, well, we built this team knowing like we're going to win the possession battle with offensive rebounds. Our first chance offense doesn't need to be that good because we're going to be huge and we're going to generate offense in all these like sort of secondary ways. If we throw Giannis into this mix, we do the same thing because now our transition attack has this crazy new weapon, and like we're not going to get worse on the offensive glass with Giannis out there, just constantly being under the rim and missing close range shots, which yield offensive rebounds. All that you could talk yourself into all that, and yet I'm still with you that like it just isn't. If you do bring Giannis in, it almost necessarily means, I mean, which it should, because he's the best player of any of the names I'm going to mention, that like you're moving or devaluing or reconsidering how you use Thompson, Şengün, like all these other non-spacing pieces, because you just can't. You can't have like Thompson, Giannis, Şengün, I don't know, fucking another center, because why not, on the
They
floor at the
will.
same time? I mean, they'll try it, but
Jabari will at least be in
well,
those.
he's like the linchpin of that hypothetical, right? Because it's like, guess you're like the only prime spacer, assuming we've traded Reed Shepherd, and Tari Eason is not actually as good a shooter as he appears to. Like it's a little clunky, which is
Uh,
because normally you just say go get him, but it's not
but
quite that easy.
and this is going to seem counterintuitive because when we start throwing out targets in a minute, like I think the Rockets do need to be. You traded for Kevin Durant, who's in his age 37 season. So we're sitting here telling them not to trade for Giannis, but you also, this isn't, well, let's wait and see what happens mode. I know you didn't give
Yeah.
up a ton for Kevin Durant, but there's an implicit urgency by acquiring him. I wanted to ask you though, let's say you are making a Giannis trade midseason and is there any part of you as the Rockets that would prefer, just asking questions, everybody, to give up Amen Thompson or Şengün instead of Reed Shepherd, or to just make it a little less spicy? If you had to give up Amen Thompson or Şengün, which one of those are you picking as the Rockets?
Honest, between those two, it gets really tough. You're catching me at a moment where I'm less high on Thompson than I've been in a long time, just because we're at what, the 2/3 mark of the season or something close to it, and the shot is just like we're getting to the point where it's like it may never be there. And if it's never going to be there, what do you have in this player? And again, that Spurs game is fresh in my mind. There have been a few others where it's like, if you're a smart enough defense, you can ignore him and go, basically it's different when it's Wemby that's quote unquote guarding him and just roaming because he's not afraid of a catch and shoot or anything like that.
What does it say that Steph Castle is allowed to guard Şengün though? Is that a
That
compliment
was
to Şengün or?
that's Steph Castle is a boss, is what that is, because he also guarded Durant in that same game, like within a 5-minute span, and was just incredible. I love that guy. So I might lean Thompson, because again, if you're trying to preserve some offense, like, I don't know, Şengün's a better hub, right? Like you're sacrificing one of the best, maybe the best perimeter defenders in the league in Thompson, but if that's all he is, and he's just a player that you can cheat away from on the other end, like that's a problem in the types of games you want to play as the Rockets, by virtue of having Durant and Giannis in this hypothetical. Like that, he's an exploitable weak point in some ways.
I think you're right, but my caveat would be I become incredibly worried about all of a sudden you're very reliant on DFS, Josh Okogie, and like those guys off there, because your best on-ball defender is Amen Thompson right now.
For sure.
And so you have Giannis shouldn't be doing that stuff. So you have guys in theory who could, but the idea of just being beholden to we need Josh Okogie to continue to cook.
Yeah.
That's iffy. But you're gonna run into the same defenses are gonna treat Josh Okogie like more of a shooter than they do Amen Thompson.
Which is crazy. Like that's where we are, Yeah, it's tough. I wouldn't want to trade either of them. I'm not like giving up on Thompson. I'm just like I'm logging some renewed concern that maybe this is going to be an issue.
So, what are the Rockets? It's not Giannis. We've decided is not their biggest need. What is their biggest need?
I mean, it again, like when you look at the full season numbers, it's like, wow, that offense is still pretty good. It is just someone that gives them more of a shooting threat on the ball to initiate pick and rolls. We're kind of just describing Fred VanVleet in a lot of ways here. So, which he should have been, he is on this team. He's just not capable of playing at the moment. But that type of player, isn't it? Like, I don't know where else I would even go for a close second. It's just, give me someone that I can put the ball in his hands. Defenses can't go under screens without being punished for it. He's going to keep the ball moving a little bit. This might also be like describing the optimized version of Reed Shepherd in a year or two. That's the other thing. So it's that player type to me. I don't even, do you agree, or do you have another concern?
I agree with that player type. I think if you can't go out and get that player type who's actually going to be in your postseason rotation, I think, and I've been and I know I've said this to you in the past, a big advocate of sometimes spacing can paper over that lack of shot creation just by giving other guys more room. And I think the Rockets, if they can't get someone who can score off the dribble and put pressure on defenses off the dribble from beyond the arc, if you just have a lights out shooter in there that you're confident enough in playing, I mean, since the turn of the calendar is a perfect example, they have 9 players taking, no, excuse me, they have 10 players taking at least 1 3-point attempt per game. I'm not going to include Jeff Green in there. He's barely played. Only one of them is shooting better. That 2 of them are shooting better than 35% from 3. Kevin Durant, of course, and Tari Eason, who's just been on fire all year. So you need to just be able to better navigate. Oh, DFS in his 12 games is shot under 25%. Or Reed Shepard's under 35%. That's not great for my guy. Jabari Smith looks like his shot came alive the other night, but he's sub 30% during this stretch. Like that list kind of, even Josh Okogie cooled off during this span. So I think you could go. So someone like, I think what you're describing would be more of a guard because you mentioned Fred VanVleet's name.
Yeah.
And that's like, what is you're not looking at a big name then, if that's what you're looking more at. Kobe White might
that's
fit.
The name.
That would be.
So I was going to ask you, like, sorry, it's like the guy I'm describing is the Kobe White type. And I don't think you're wrong. I think there are there's more than one way to address this. You're thinking more of like a pure shooter, and you almost don't care what position that is.
Right. It's because the Rockets have fungibility positionally just because of like what all their different guys do. My question would be, can this guy, because we know the playoffs now are all about minimizing your weaknesses. And so the question can become, will this guy be on the floor? Doesn't necessarily have to be for crunch time, but will this guy play at least 15, 20 minutes in the playoffs? I think has to be the question that they're asking themselves.
Yeah. So you're not interested in Buddy Hield is what I'm taking from you.
No, it's not. And it wouldn't be like a Duncan Robinson situation. Maybe, I mean, like, how much is Cleveland looking to cut costs? Sam Merrill, like he could stay on the floor in the playoffs for them. That'd be 5-alarm fire. Sam Hauser doesn't do it for me quite. Like he would help during the regular season. I don't know how much he's playing in the playoffs. So maybe a bar above Sam Hauser.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what you're doing to not go way over the tax here. And the Celtics maybe aren't selling, but like Simons even would be someone that would make sense. It's just I don't know who you're sending out.
Well, you could send out Fred VanVleet. He has veto rights, but would he mind going to the Celtics? He has
that's the other thing. It doesn't sound. I haven't heard any real rumblings on it lately, but like, isn't there a case to be made that like if you think VanVleet might be capable of giving you 20 minutes in the playoffs, like you just keep the powder dry, you know?
Could they get to Michael Porter Jr.'s money?
Oh God. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's the thing with the Rockets. The answer is always going to be yeah. It's just what are so you can't give up.
Would you
for MPJ?
No. I was going to ask, would you give up, because they could fit it into their structure, Jabari Smith Jr. for Michael Porter Jr.?
Man, I don't know. I love Smith. I love the contract. I like he's still so young. Gives you more defense. You would or wouldn't?
Wouldn't.
I think if the Rockets were like, it's almost like if you were a little better and it was very clear that this was the put you over the top move, and MPJ had like a slightly longer track record of like this kind of volume and that, maybe I'd think harder. I don't know. I think I might be more open to it than you would, but
if he wasn't on the poison pill,
weird too.
Yeah, if he wasn't on the poison pill, maybe I'd be more open to, because then you have to send other players out as the Rockets. Now, let's say VanVleet is willing to, like accept a trade to Brooklyn. They have the rights. Like, would you give the swap back to Brooklyn to get Michael? What if that's just the only asset except for money? So it'd be Fred VanVleet, and you could do who after that? I mean, Fred VanVleet and Dorian Finney-Smith get you there, but if you're looking to shed money, I mean, maybe the Nets are even letting you get out of the tax.
I mean, I was going to say like that swap that should be more than enough, because Brooklyn should really want that swap, right? And like if you're getting that swap back and you're moving off MPJ, who would probably make it harder for you to maximize the value of that pick next year, that's a pretty good one too. I wonder if you could ask for another, like a future pick from the Nets in that deal, So
yeah, maybe that's the deal is, can you get the Knicks' 2027 pick instead, send the swap back to the Nets, then the trade becomes, it'd have to be Fred VanVleet DFS, and you could do a smaller contract, or you could do that doesn't get you out of the tax. So you could do Clint Capella, and maybe would the Nets also send you Day'Ron Sharp back
I
as part of
mean,
that deal?
I had never not thought of this, but it's now my favorite idea. I love it because I think you could ask for the moon. Like I think it would be difficult to come up with the semi-realistic package that Brooklyn would be willing to give up, including MPJ, to get that pick back, right? I mean, like, I think that should be there. If we circled back and did the Brooklyn trade deadline primer, like that should be priority one. We got to get that pick back because I mean they're gonna try to be better next year, I guess. But it's like, would they be saying that if they had control of that pick? I kind of doubt it.
Yeah, this is so the deal. So the structure I have, and it works. To double check this, the Rockets aren't saving money; they're taking on a little bit, but there's so little, they're still below the first apron. Fred VanVleet, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Clint Capella and that swap for Michael Porter Jr., Day'Ron Sharp, and then do you have the leverage to ask for like the Knicks' 2029 pick instead of 2027?
I'm asking for the pick.
No, I think you could get the 2027 pick without
no matter
question.
what.
I'm asking as Houston, wouldn't you prefer? Because the Knicks, there might be changes this summer, but they're probably not going to suck next year.
Right. Yeah. Well, for sure, you would prefer the more distant pick just because Brunson will be older. And by then,
so let's say
something will have happened.
It's a first round pick. Maybe, do you ask for the Nuggets is 2032 for like, would Brooklyn say no? So let's say this is the package. You're giving up Clint Capella, Fred VanVleet, Dorian Finney-Smith for Day'Ron Sharp and Michael Porter Jr. You're giving the swap back, and you're also getting an additional first round pick. I'll say post 2027 because I think the Nets would want that pick back so bad that maybe you could get both the Knicks' picks in 27 and 29, or maybe you get that Nuggets pick in 2032. Just that. Would you do that? So forget about the Nets. I think the Nets. Maybe it's a conversation as we get to the out years on those picks. Do the Rockets do this?
Yeah. So the question then is like, is MPJ, because clearly he's the crown jewel of the deal. Are we sure that he's exactly what the Rockets need? Because that is a valuable pick. Although, like, again, trying to keep it focused on the Rockets, like, do you think maybe at some point the Nets, I guess it's such a short window, it's unlikely, the Nets will have someone you want even more that you'd be willing to offer that swap back for? Like, probably not. I don't know who that would be.
Not between now and when the swap
right.
Is
right. You got a year and a half, maybe. Not, roughly. But before that pick would convey. I mean, that's I
think I do it. Am I not?
I think you do too. The only thing is it's a bad look if you're just putting Fred VanVleet on an ice floe and like shoving him out to sea. Like that's a bad look. But I think I would get over it if I were the Rockets.
Why is it a bad look? Like this, that's just how
I mean, I don't know. Don't you have the feeling
they
that
gave him an above market contract for 2 years?
Yeah. I mean, I just have a heart is all. Sorry, you can't relate.
I mean, but I'm not even sure Fred VanVleet is the exact player they need because he's never just been a caps lock shot creator. He's never been the most efficient
close.
in that.
Like, it's very clear that he would be a massive help.
Well, I'm going to ask you a cold calculated question.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you rather have next year? Michael Porter Jr. or Fred VanVleet coming off an ACL injury?
Yeah, right. It's pretty obvious. It's MPJ. Pretty easy. Even though positionally it's weird because you got another forward in the mix that can't guard down.
Right.
Here's the thing. If you still have Thompson can guard down, I would trust Eason to guard down. Well, is Eason on the team if you traded for MPJ, or are you going to let him go unrestricted free agency? Probably.
No, you have to keep. I think if you're losing DFS, because you're like salary net neutral for next season with this deal. So like, I don't think it changes anything functionally for them. I keep Eason, and I think you probably, at least for this season, because look, Michael Porter Jr. could then be valuable matching salary as part of a Giannis trade. And if you're able to get 2 firsts back from the Nets for that swap, in theory, like that could be more useful for you if you decide to turn around and make a Giannis trade or a bigger trade. But you're right. Positionally, so you have Durant, Amen Thompson, Michael Porter Jr., and then are you going to play 2 centers with those 3 at some point?
Right. You still have Smith. I I guess that's not that many, but because I wouldn't. Who knows what you're getting with Adams? Although is Adams expiring? I can't even.
No, he
No,
has
he's
another
on the
year
books
left.
for 2 more years. That's right. He signed that little short extension. Yeah, I think you probably do that. Also, we buried the lead. That just like puts a giant like spotlight on Reed Shepherd for next year, where it's like you're the guy, man. We don't. We just don't have any other guards. It's you're in charge of the backcourt, which I think we are both supportive of
I don't know why I like this deal so much. There's a
because
lot
it's a
of
good deal.
I like it. I don't I my prediction is, you could let us know in the comments or our Discord, Rockets fans. My prediction is Rockets fans do not like the structure of that deal, but I like it. Any other names? Like, I think if they're gonna go lower end solutions, what does it take to get? I've named him for so many teams now, but like Cam Spencer out
Yeah.
of Memphis would be perfect, and he's
Mhm.
cheap moving forward.
I mean, any of the Grizzlies not Ja Morant guards would be interesting. If you
Well,
thought
two of them
Pippen
haven't played.
well, I was gonna say if you thought Pippen or Ty Jerome were gonna be healthy enough to play at some point, that might be worth an ad.
Now, I have two
Um,
more. I have two more names that I find interesting.
please.
He's very cheap now, but he has a player option in 2027, 28. And I'm not convinced that the Bucks should view him as part of their core if they think Giannis is gone now or next season. Ryan Rollins would be so good for
Oh,
this team.
he would be great. I mean, if I'm the Bucks, like this is probably overstating it, but I'm almost thinking of like this is one of our post Giannis core pieces. I mean, part of that's because they don't have a lot else, but yeah, he would be phenomenal for the Rockets. Like I know it's the bloom. There were moments earlier in the season where I said some very outlandish things, but I still think I think Rollins is a 3-level scorer that makes your defense better, can run a pick and roll that has to be guarded, like
Could hit some
get
like
to the
step back
basket.
stuff. Yeah.
He's a really good two-way guard that like I think shouldn't be gettable for like less than I mean I think you should have to give up like a legit first and some other stuff for him. Like
Which the
I think he's
Rockets,
that
to their
level, which
credit, do have.
they can do it if they want.
Would you
Would
get
you rather have Ryan Rollins or Kobe White? Like, or actually, the contracts
Ryan
are different.
Rollins?
Yeah,
No,
Rollins is Rollins a better player? Like in
no,
total,
no.
maybe.
I think Kobe White's the better offensive player, but also
Mhm.
I'm sort of just, after watching Ime Udoka, it's almost from he's been better than Jamal Mosley, I think, but just doesn't play guys who are defensive liabilities. And Kobe White
Mhm.
is relative to this Rockets team, they could insulate
Right,
him, but he's definitely a defensive liability.
right. I agree.
The other name, I don't know what it costs to get him. Peyton Pritchard would be excellent for
Mm.
this team as
He
well.
would be really good. Yeah, yeah. I like that a lot. I mean, yeah, I don't think. Well, if the Celtics were sellers, things would be a lot more interesting, as like we expected they
Oh,
would be. But
this is I guess it's also positionally redundant, but should they be a Trey Murphy team? Easier to
hmm.
match that salary, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to give up the picks it's going to take for him?
That's what the thing with getting a Michael Porter Jr., he's more expensive, but because you have that net swap,
Yeah,
I think you could get back picks and get off
right.
money like with that swap.
And everybody is in love with Murphy at the moment. I think there's at least a conversation about who's a better player right now, Murphy or MPJ. Like Murphy is relatively cheaper contract, goes out longer. Like that makes him the better asset. But like if you're just thinking about who makes us better today, the Rockets could conclude it's MPJ, and then the fact that they have the trump card in trading for MPJ without giving up a bunch of other stuff makes Porter Jr. probably the smarter get. I think, even though he costs significantly more.
I think, and which is fair, people will point to the durability concerns with his back, but he's been like, at some point, it's just he's been available for 3 straight seasons.
I think we need to table that. I think we need to leave the MPJ health issues aside until they crop up again, just because like it hasn't been a thing.
And the other thing too is just like, if you're looking, he's not a point guard, but Michael Porter Jr. this year ranks in I'm double checking it right now, the 94th percentile of self-created shot making efficiency. Would you like to know where Trey Murphy ranks? I love Trey Murphy.
Please, I'm guessing lower than that if you have to.
The 10th percentile.
Yeah.
And so it's okay, if we're not going to get someone to facilitate offense for others, at least we know he can come in here and just get buckets off the ball, on the ball. To wrap up on the Rockets, let's predict their scale of. I'm more optimistic about this team than I think their fans are lately. I don't think they'll sit around and do nothing. And if they do, that's when I'll get a little bit more pessimistic. But they have the ability to make big moves medium moves, moves on the margins. So I think they'll do something to improve the offensive floor balance. I don't know what it will be, but I'm gonna on a scale of aggression, I'll probably put them at like a 6 or a 7 of doing something.
I like that range. I think their needs are so clear, and the types of players that could address them probably won't. Like the MPJ thing is a whole separate issue, but like there's enough decent shooters and solid, playmaking guards that can make a shot that it would be disappointing if they didn't go out and get somebody, even if you're just in the Kobe White tier of acquisitions. Like I think they're a good enough team with an identifiable enough flaw. Sure. And any of those guys, like Tyus Jones isn't going to do it probably unless he just turns into like 2021 Tyus Jones.
Yeah, just like we kind of said, we need to like ditch the MPJ durability thing. It might be like time to move on from the idea of Tyus Jones.
I've moved on. He's like the last guy because he's so available. he's so easy to onboard. It's just like if you can't get any of those guys, sure, we'll give up a second and salary we don't care about for him, and not count on him. But yeah, I think they should do something. I think it's likely that they will.
Yep.
The blockbustery stuff feels pretty unlikely because I do think there is a case to be made.
I just gave them one. They should make the Michael Porter Jr. trade. You're welcome.
But they could make the case that like even though we made the move for Kevin Durant and that accelerated the timeline, like we still would like to see what happens in the playoffs with him and with our younger guys that are still kind of trying to figure things out.
I think they will make a move where the player coming back is no worse than Keon Ellis. They might just decide to get it like, and that's, you know what? I don't know. I'd like someone better than Keon Ellis, but if Keon Ellis is like the floor, that's fine with me.
I'm happy with that. Yeah.
You got anything else, or you ready to take us out of here?
I got an outro. Thanks everybody for listening, for watching. As Dan said at the top, please remember to rate, give us a 5-star rating, give us a nice review. That's always helpful. Subscribe, please. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave us a comment there as well. Join our Discord, links for that in the YouTube and podcast description. Tell your friends, tell your enemies. Shouts, Frank Ntilikina. Apologies, Jarrett Allen.